journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Lao Tzu. Welcome. This is Voice of Purpose, evolving generations in conversation on the path to true inner purpose. I'm the Real Sun, and we are on our second episode of our wonderful talk show. Today we'll be featuring Esther Lam and Michael Morales. Stay tuned for an awesome couple of conversations. Welcome. This is Voice of Purpose, evolving generations in conversations on the path to true inner purpose. My name is The Real Sun, and today I have with me Esther. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you.
This is Esther Lam of La Vestia. She writes a blog. She's also a registered massage therapist. And I don't know, you are just a beaming light from the heavens. I met Esther as part of a local dance community of Zouk. And I started speaking with Esther about this idea of purpose. And there was so much that resonated that I was just like, you have to come on my show and we have to have this conversation together. And so welcome, Esther.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks. Awesome. How are you doing today?
It's been an early morning, but it's been amazing. Great energy so far. So,
Awesome. So let's hop right into it. So we know that the conversation is about purpose. And also that this month is May. And I don't always make a big deal about Asian Heritage Month, but I don't know, for some reason this year I felt like I wanted to kind of honor that in ways that are about having those conversations that center around purpose, because I think our identities play a huge part in who we are and our paths. So, but let's start kind of right from the beginning. And how do you connect with this idea of purpose? What does purpose mean for you?
Purpose to me, the idea of it growing up, I always thought it would be someone that got it all together, knows what they're doing, crystal clear, goals all set, living it. And as I realized, keeping asking myself of what purpose means, to me, I connected with purpose in terms of what makes me happy, what makes me feel excited to get up and live my life, and what can I do to leave a mark in the world.
Right.
Even if it's not about building the large organization or knowing every single day what I'm doing, just the little things every day that inspires me to keep moving and allows me to live fully so that I can inspire others to do the same.
Yeah.
So that's my definition now.
Right. And that's what I see you doing. When I look at your blog, when I have conversations with you, I see that that's your aspiration, to live fully, to taste fully, to experience fully.
Indulge.
To indulge and to find the rich textures that create the beauties of life. What drew you to this kind of path, do you think? Was it always kind of in your nature to be this way?
I feel like it's always been in my nature, except I've been kind of told otherwise growing up. So it's kind of been growing up with a bit of resistance, not really sure whether I can do things like this. And so I think it was years of resistance of doing things that I never was really happy with that got me to a point where I'm like, you know what do I actually want? And that's when things start unfolding, and I realize I can design a life that I'm happy with and aspire to, check off things on my bucket list, or even fulfill cups that I never knew I was allowed to fulfill, and pour what I love into it.
So can you be a little bit more specific about when you were growing up and some of the choices that you made, or some of the boundaries that were created for you, what those might have been, and if your Asianness or your heritage had anything to do with that? I'm just curious what that story might be.
I feel like I didn't realize the culture thing was such a big deal until I kind of was in high school and university and realized I only had certain options going to university. So growing up, I felt like I had to take care of everyone around me before myself. I wasn't allowed to be selfish. I wasn't allowed to fully exactly answer what I wanted to do, who I needed to be. It was more so I needed to be this when I grew up so I could take care of my family, take care of the family I'm supposed to build. And so in terms of that, I realized I actually took in a lot of ideas of the typical Asian. Like I am supposed to be good at math. I'm supposed to want to kind of be a doctor, lawyer, or accountant and whatnot. So
Right.
I actually jumped into the University of Calgary, and I did about 3.5 years of accounting and also minoring with psychology. And I started feeling pretty depressed, really miserable going to class, and I was just really motivated. And I was getting sick all the time. Wasn't sure why, but
That's a surefire way. Our previous guest also said that her body started breaking down when she, wasn't on the path of following her voice.
Yeah, I was constantly getting sick, and especially speaking of like voice, I had strep throat and sore throats all the time.
Yeah.
And later on, I realized this area, really means speaking your truth, living out and expressing. And so from learning the ideas of that from a spiritual side, I'm like, okay, so I need to start expressing who I am, start living authentically in a way that I'm letting it out rather than stuffing it down. Because my childhood growing up, listening to my parents' ideals and society's ideals, I realized I just allowed myself to be stuffed down because I felt like that's the right thing to do.
Right.
So,
and there's this kind of real honor piece, right? And particularly in Korean culture. I'm Korean. I'm
Chinese.
Chinese.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of East Asian cultures, there's this tendency to put family before the individual, community before, the single person again. And that's something that's deeply rooted in our culture that I find can be very rich in terms of the ways that, people come together to support one another in terms of how we build community and how we understand family.
Yeah.
But then there's sometimes this essence of these very rigid rules, right? It's like the elder is always right. And, you're supposed to just kind of give up all of your personal wants and desires.
Yep, absolutely. Sacrifices. Because they sacrificed for us out of love, out of hard work, and so that's all they knew. And I honor that and respect that, and to learn that being of where I'm at right now in Canada, first generation, all of a sudden we have options, and we don't need to sacrifice hard work and whatnot, and not get what we want at the same time as individuals. We can strike a balance. We have the freedom, we have the option, we have the liberty nowadays. And that's something I'm learning myself and also letting my parents know that.
Yeah. I think the generation that came before us definitely...
they fought.
They fought. And, I mean, we fight, too, in a different kind of way, right? For a sense of identity in this space that is multicultural. I was just at a school giving a talk around Asian Heritage Month and what my experience was of growing up in Canada, being ostracized for being Korean, but then when I went back to Korea, feeling ostracized there as well because I had lost connection with my own culture. So there's definitely different struggles for the different generations.
Absolutely.
So tell me more about what made you finally decide to be like, well, these typical, and I talk about this all the time, right? Like there's 4 professions. You can go into accounting, you can go into business, you can go be an engineer or a doctor. Pick one, right? And
pretty much.
that's usually the choices that we're given. Not just, a lot in the Asian community, but not just in the Asian community, but in a lot of communities as well.
They're safe and they're profession careers, and so there's a sign of prestige in it as well. So
right. But what's the pitfall of that? What do you think? Like, what happens?
I feel like it gets into a routine, and in a way, it's just if people that I meet in that profession that do really well, I feel like they just knew Somewhere in them, they just kind of knew they're committed. And growing up, it's just, I know I'm always going to be a doctor or a lawyer or want to create a business. And, you know, I still fall under something like that. I'm more so an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to create and have a touch of what a me that's in what I do. So for that, I feel like I kind of fit in, but it's just never been something that my parents would have thought.
Right.
Because it's risky.
Right.
There's no guarantee. But with professions, if it's solid and it pays well, like, you know, there's that. And so it's safe. So the pitfall is more so it kind of takes away from who you are if you're really trying to fit into it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that you already knew, like,
well, and
there's
here's
that side.
and I'm gonna challenge you on this idea of safe, right? Because I think sometimes we have this idea that you go the classic narrative of you go to school, you put in work to get good grades, you graduate, you find that job, find that career that's supposed to support you well, and you're supposed to stay with the company, stay loyal to the company, and they're going to take care of you. And that is an old story. There's a lot of people that come out of post-secondary studies with no job. There's people that work for corporations and are loyal to these businesses and then end up getting laid off 10 years down the road or 5 years down the road and end up on unemployment, right? So this classic story of go to school, go to work, and live happily ever after doesn't necessarily fit within our generation's narrative. And also, I think there's an essence of when you fall into just following the assembly line role of this existence, this narrative that we've been told, it can leave us feeling empty.
It's that.
You know, when and I see a lot of people whose narrative this is, where you do go to school and you do get the grades and you do get that job that you're supposed to have, but then you come home at the end of the day and you still feel empty. And there's some people that even get to the point where you get the house, you get the car, you get the family, you get the 2.5 kids, you get the dog, you know, do the whole nine,
Whole shebang.
the whole shebang, and then still come home
Empty.
Yes.
And you see,
how do we fill that emptiness? Where does that emptiness come from? How do we make that go away?
yeah, I feel as though because that's definitely what I thought I aspired to do growing up. I thought that's all I wanted, the kids, the family, the job, and I just never felt good doing it throughout, like as I kind of walked towards that direction. I just never felt good. I was always getting sick. And what I found after doing a lot of work on myself and meeting certain people in my life, I realized it takes me to ask myself, what makes me happy? What have I done throughout my whole life that is fulfilling and that I wouldn't mind even not getting paid for it to do? And so I began certain exercises such as a grateful journal. I started writing out things that does make me happy. I started taking note of certain things I'm good at, things that I do all the time anyways after work, when I'm tired, and things that it lights me up. Those things, I write them down and I would take a look back and be like, you know what? I got something going on already. I just had to acknowledge it and quit putting my energy in something that makes me feel really crappy. And that's kind of how I rearranged, realizing I had to acknowledge what's there already. Because everyone has something going on for them, even if they feel like they don't. Because even people that get home and from a 9 to 5 and they're really feeling ugh, they're still, you know, drawn towards something else. Some people it's dance, some people is computer games, but it's just those little things. And they gotta ask themselves in those times when they go there, why are they going there? And what void is it filling?
Absolutely. And I think that spark is so important, right? To understanding what is it that drives you, what is it that brings you that sense of happiness at the end of the day, is definitely a clue, right? To finding what that true purpose is.
Yes.
Follow your bliss. As that simple and yet very famous parable goes by. I think Joseph Campbell was the first one to say that. So was there a tipping point for you where you were just like, because you said you did the school, you went for marketing and business.
Business psychology.
Business
that was definitely my background.
And then you had stepped into the workforce.
No, I actually didn't graduate. I took a year
Okay,
off
I
because
see.
I was, like I said, I was getting sick all the time. I was
Yeah.
really feeling depressed.
Right.
Anxiety was kind of getting there, and I just walking, like, I had no motivation to go there anymore. At first, I thought I can grind it out. I was like year and a half left, but my tipping point was more so when I was breaking down with one of my girlfriends, and she's heavily involved with personal development work and getting to know yourself better to find identity and yada yada yada. And then she introduced me to that world as well, and she was like, "Hey, you have nothing to lose. Get to know yourself. You went right
Get
in.
to know who you are.
Like
Who are you?
I went from high school right into university, and it's just like, what's going on with my life? And it's course, kind of have like a little break, course, and that's when I realized I'm falling into a routine that was not serving me.
Right.
I was not fulfilled, and my tipping point was when I was in my class for a weekend workshop, and I realized there's people that's 13 all the way to like 60, 70. And I look at these individuals, I'm like, why are you here? You're so young, you should be all right, right? And then I look at the older people that got it all, like we said, the house, the jobs, the kids, the family, everything, and they were just, some of them were successful already. They just wanted to check in what's going on, if they can get any better. And then there's people that are just like, I'm a little lost. That spark, it's gone. I don't even know what a spark feels like anymore. And I looked at myself, I'm like, well, I was 18 at that time, so why am I here?
Right.
And I realized my tipping point was realizing I don't want to be putting my life on pause for someone else anymore, because people were 30, 40, and they got it all. And when I thought that was it, that was what I wanted, they weren't happy anyways.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized life wasn't about just the things we can get and the title label. It's what's here. Like at the end of the day, I don't want to pass away on my deathbed, knock on wood and all that, that I just lived for someone else. And I wanted to leave the mark that I have my own life and I'm acknowledging, owning it.
Yes.
So that's kind of my tipping
beautiful.
point. It's that. It's
That's
realizing
amazing.
I don't want something, so let's go somewhere else.
And the space of constantly living your life just to live up to other people's expectations.
It's draining.
Right? It's draining.
So draining. And it's damaging too. And it's taking away from the relationships you have around you. And that's one thing I realized. Because when I was starting to do things for myself, I felt really bad. I felt selfish. I felt like I was dishonoring my family. And to take a year off when I was like on a good route, it was like,
oh my God. My mom told me if I took a year off that she would kick me out of the house.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
there was that kind of a conversation. And all of a sudden, they're like, what do I tell your friends and family? I'm like, the truth? I just needed some time off. No. We're going to tell them you're just on a break for now. It'll be really short and you'll go back to school. And I'm like, sure, we'll go with that if that makes you happy. But it's just, I realize the more fulfilled I am within me, the better of a person I am to those around me. Yeah. And so with that mindset and intention of fulfilling who I am, what I do, what I love, I realize there's more good than bad in that.
And I think there's also this essence that, our parents want the best for us.
Absolutely.
And they love us dearly, most of our parents, right? You always got to make room for the 1, 2 that need to get their things together. But what I mean is that parents want the best for their children. And sometimes our parents have also been fed this story of what success looks like and feels like, because they didn't have the privileges that we have. And so they want us to do well. And so the question that always I pose is that, you can want what's best for your children, but if what you're pushing them into is actually draining life from them, what's the point? You know, if sure you can get the material status, you can get all your check marks, you know, checked off, but if you feel empty at the end of the day, what is the point? What is the point? And do you really want your children to be happy and truly invested in what that means?
Yeah.
There's one thing that when I went to university, I had taken a couple of courses around Asian history. And Asian heritage, because you know I was so ashamed of the fact that I didn't know anything about my culture. I decided to do some learning around that stuff. And what I learned was that, you know, at least it's true for Korea, and I think also for China as well, is that back in the day, hundreds of years ago, during the time of the kingdoms, before the nation states became what they are now, there was education was something that was highly revered, and education was something that was a tool to bring yourself to a place within society, in the sense that you could not get positions in government unless you passed an academic exam, right? And so with that, a lot of people, you know, think that Asians are like genetically predisposed to math. I don't know, because, you know, a lot of Asian kids in our schools do really well. But the thing is that there's a misconception. It's not a genetic thing, it's a cultural thing. It's deeply embedded in, you know, our culture, stemming back to Confucianism and the values that were placed on our youth to do well in school. So just kind of wanted to drop that little piece in there as well to support today's conversation. Is there anything else that you think is relevant to talk about in relationship to your path of purpose? And where are you going next? Where are you going next?
Well, to touch on education, though, I think it's very important for everyone in learning more. And good grades, it's great if you're into it. I just find, like I said, if it makes you happy, go for it. If it serves you, go for it. And in answering where I am right now, it's funny that I'm here to talk about purpose, because for the past week I've been kind of feeling a bit lost. I've been in Toronto and I'm just regrouping what I need to do for the rest of the year, and I've been asking myself, what is my purpose? What's going on? And here I am right now, realizing this is part of living my purpose. It's constantly, every so often, reevaluating, am I on the right track? So I feel like right now, that's where I'm at. And after today's talk, and just for a lot of reflection for the past little bit, I honestly feel like I'm on the right direction. And how exactly looks like, not sure, but I'm on the way to where I want to be.
But on that path, you know, you need to follow what makes you happy. You need to follow your passion and what drives you.
Yeah. And that's constantly evolving as well. I'm adding pieces of certain things I realize I'm growing out of, and being okay with that.
Yeah, I find that really interesting as well, that sometimes we have this perception that purpose is this thing that is fixed. It is this end point that you get to. And what I really appreciate about our conversation is your perspective that purpose is also a constantly evolving thing. It's not this one static thing that you're, you know, this ultimate thing that you're supposed to be destined to become. There is an element of that, of course, but purpose on a much deeper level is something that moves with us.
Yes,
That evolves with us.
I believe it's more so a beingness. I firmly believe with people and things that you do, it's more important and that people remember how you make them feel, how who you are, your energy, more so than just little things that you've done. And so when people were asking me in a class before, saying like, what's the legacy you want to leave? Like, what is your purpose? What is your mark in the world? And I was like, oh my goodness, that's very loaded. Like, where do I begin? And I felt similarly when you asked, are you living your purpose in alignment? I'm like, that is loaded. Hold on, but if I backtrack, it's like, well, I want to inspire. I know I want to be a loving person. I want to sprinkle kindness everywhere I go. And it's those little bits and pieces of who you are already that you're living it out. And that's my purpose, and that's kind of how I'm realizing, like, purpose is how you carry yourself through everything in life, and how you leave your mark. Could be that.
Right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Esther. So that was Esther Lam. She has a blog, Lovestia. It's LOV3STIA.com, and she blogs about her travels. She's also a huge foodie. She critiques food from all over the world. She takes amazing photography, and is also a model. And you can check out some of her adventures on lovestia.com. Thank you so much, Esther, for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.
Yeah, amazing. So up next, we are going to invite Michael Morales to perform a song for us, and he is going to be our artist feature for today, our youth artist feature. But in the meantime, let's bring it over to Stevie G on the guitar.
Just know I started as a poet. I used to write poems, see, 'cause every single night I used to feel like I was alone. And I don't think they understand. I never used to eat, never used to sleep. That's why I write with my soul. 'Cause man, tonight if I go to sleep and my heart never beats, would it be a cappella? Will they think I was weak? Will my voice still linger inside their thoughts? Travel through their veins and I whisper into their hearts. I'm someone that's worth the 4 minutes. 'Cause before it's finished, I want them all to listen. I want my name to be dollar coins with a quarter missing, and feel empty like coffee cups from a street beggar. 'Cause my music is true. Sometimes it's hard to listen. If I was rich, think I'd love my wealth, 'cause I know times I ain't love myself. So as an artist, know this music thing will open the door. Will it really hide the fact that still we so insecure? Here's a bit of myself. A label mama had to work, you know that she had to go to school. You can picture drama, 16, my mama was going through. Know that I'm a product of people that was so misunderstood. Living proof just to show these people that there's something that could. They told my mama she ain't gotta live a life like this. Told her abortion's an option to solve your problem. Is he really working? Does he really have a purpose? Do you think he'll make it far in life? Does he even know what earth is? Said I know one thing is for certain, that there's mothers out there hurting. 'Cause they know they gave their babies up to some doctors, mothers, some baby daddies. That peer pressure, that thug life, that right around the city get popped. Those projects and that ghetto life and the lifestyle that you want. Know that I'm the kid that you gave up. When you go to sleep and you dream about it. I'm the kid that done came up when you made me dust and you think about it. I'm the kid, I'm the one on the stage with the voice now. I'm the one with the choice now. I'm the one making noise now. Dear mama could have been your baby boy now, but look. Yeah, just listen. 17 to the mic down. Everybody here right now. I'm the voice on the stage and nobody leaving someone turn right around. I'm the kid with the nice sound. I ain't talking about the money, no diamonds, no clothes, no shoes, car that's shining. I'ma take it to my mind, introduce it. You'll see when you walk into my lifestyle. Well, got a few hoes inside, ain't got no home inside. Knew about a couple homicides down Gateway Road to Ganopa Drive. Mama worked 2 jobs, every lane paid. So I write 2 songs in the same day. So I'm up here rapping on the main stage. And a woman in my life, she ain't fake. To the mamas in the back or to the ones in the front who the safest. You the woman that we rap for. You done gave us a stage to express the greatest. We the kids that made it. We the new generation of makers. We the ones in the streets that will change us. Got a choice to save us, and mom make a wish for the day, cause yeah. Just listen, we ain't going nowhere. Everybody in the place trying to turn up, but we ain't going nowhere. Is anybody out there ever heard us? We so beautiful. I'ma turn out beautiful. In this place it ain't beautiful. Everything is so beautiful. Just listen, we ain't going nowhere. Drop top, ain't nobody stop talking. Rock in, we ain't going nowhere. We the rock don't stop in the building. It's so beautiful. Mama turned out beautiful. In this place it ain't beautiful. Everything is so beautiful. And everybody at home, you at school, wherever you watching this right now, I'm gonna need you to put your fists up in the air for me. Even if you in the studio, raise your fists up. That's what we talking about. Look, we hope that y'all can hear our voices when our fists are up. and know how much we have to go through and how it's corrupt. We tell our stories in hopes that we just could reach you all. But with or without, you know that we just won't know, we won't fall in. Yeah. Just listen, we ain't going nowhere. Hella rockin' on the show and I'ma give them all the lyricism. We ain't going nowhere. But all I gotta do for the rap game, it's so beautiful. I'ma turn out beautiful. In this place it ain't beautiful. Everything is so beautiful. Just listen, we ain't going nowhere. I'ma do it for the people who listen to it sentimental. We ain't going nowhere. I'ma take this thing to a whole damn other level. So beautiful. I'ma turn out beautiful. In this place it ain't beautiful. Everything is so beautiful. Everybody here, I know y'all like that real hip hop stuff, so I'ma bring it back. I go by the name of Michael Morales. Look, now what it's like to a broken man. I seen the system cuff my brother twice and they broke his hand. Mama ain't everything beautiful in this broken land. Cause honestly we all enslaved to serving them noble men. And mama I ain't mean to get political, but the pain made me lyrical. And the human race is so empirical. And on my brother saying these hard times be spiritual. But I know people die when they praying to God, waving Confederate flags, hoping somebody gon' fix us. I don't walk in a black skin, but I feel for my sisters. Feel the pain in my brothers, feel the rain in your eyes, feel the hurt in your stomach, feel the rage in your lies. See your crippling walk, feel the crack in your smile, feel the drip when you talk, feel the black in your style. I feel the weight of the world, matter what color you are. Know we still united with each other through torture and war. Know that we got hit. Hip, hop, hip, hop, hip. Everybody say hip, hop, hip, hop, hip, hop, hip, hop. Stop. Moment of silence for kids who came from the block. We ain't choose to live our life this way. Thank you.
All right, welcome. That was high, yo. Nice. So Michael is joining us. He's 18.
18. I just turned 18 in
Just
April.
turned 18 in April. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So he's our youth artist feature for today. He's hailing from Scarborough.
Scarborough.
And here he is. Welcome.
Thank you.
That was amazing. How you feeling?
Tired. Tired. I feel good.
You know, when I was watching some of your material, the little documentary that you have, especially, really resonated a lot with me. Because I think a lot of the perspectives that you have is something that I think would deeply resonate with a lot of people. So first of all, what is purpose to you? What does purpose mean? What is
purpose?
Yeah.
I feel like purpose is something that you just love, and it's something that you love, and when you share it, everyone else can see it in you too. It's like for purpose for me, when I get on stage, it's like I can feel that people can feel what I'm feeling. And purpose is like, I feel like it's so unexplainable because it's bigger than me.
Right.
Purpose is something that it's so much bigger than I can even understand.
Where does it come from?
To be honest, I feel like it comes from something even bigger than me. Like I was saying, like I have no clue, but I'm grateful that it's there. And that's what purpose is to me. But it all started from just writing, and I just did it as something that I loved, and it found its way.
So you feel like you found your purpose through your art, through your music, through your poetry?
Definitely.
How did you get to that point of knowing that, realizing that that's what your purpose was?
I think it had to be during one of my spoken word shows. So I do this show, play at this event called Reclaim Your Voice.
Okay.
And so that specific event was about abuse and surviving like abuse and things like that. So I wrote a poem about a touchy subject like child molestation and things like that, and seeing how that poem and my words can influence people and make them feel something, and almost give people almost that comfort. In my vulnerability and through my stories, it made me feel like I have something to offer to the world.
Do you feel like you're being used as a vessel?
I think so. I really think so. And I think it's for a good purpose. I feel like it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. I feel like as artists we we get vulnerable and we tell our stories and we sacrifice our own vulnerability so that others don't have to, or so that others can feel that it's okay to be themselves, or it's okay to be who they are, and embrace who they are.
And have you always felt this space within yourself where you felt like you knew who you were? Was there a transition point? Was there a point that kind of sparked for you? It's like, yes.
I feel like deep down I always knew, in somewhere inside of me, like even with all the people who may doubt or say like what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Or why? Like they question it because they don't understand it. But deep down I knew that there was something inside of me that wanted to speak to people. Yeah, that wanted to be there. Like, cause if you were to see me like in a normal day, like I wouldn't talk. I'm like an introvert and I'm not very talkative, but when I get onto the stage, it's almost like it's still me, but it's
You're
I don't
in
know.
alignment.
It's, yeah, exactly.
You're in
it's,
alignment. You've
it's
tuned
my
in.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Definitely.
tapped in.
Exactly. But at the same time, I'm still that introverted kid. But when I got on stage, it's like that's me too. That's me too. And it's just like I don't know.
It's connecting to a truer you, maybe.
Maybe. I really think so. I believe so. Because when I got on that stage, it's like for 3-4 minutes, there's no color, there's no judgment, there's no anything. It's about how you make them feel.
And do you feel like hip hop is part of your purpose? Do you feel like being a part of hip hop culture and these different art forms? Like, how did you get involved in that space?
So I started off writing poetry. I was a poet first.
Yeah.
So I wrote a lot of poetry, and I grew up with young parents. So like I watched my mother like take care of me and do all she could to take care of me, and I had to watch different things. I grew up in an area called Flemington Park.
Okay.
And so
Flemo. Shout out to Flemo.
Shout out to Flemo. So it's like growing up, I grew up around a lot of different things, and I got to experience a lot of things, and then for that area, for me in particular, I had to grow up faster than I thought I should have.
Right.
Like I had to grow up very fast.
Yeah.
So for me, poetry was always that way to express myself. And it was a way, especially because I don't talk a lot, it was a way for me to say something without having to say something. Like,
Yeah.
It was a way for me to, where I just got to write it down and just be like, this is how I'm feeling, and I don't, like, it's just for me.
Yeah.
You know? But then as soon as like I hit 8th grade and my teachers were like, you should perform this, and I did it. It was so empowering for me to just do it out of expression, to sharing with people who want to listen. The most amazing feeling I could have ever. Till this day, it's so amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's your cultural lineage in terms of your parents?
I'm Filipino.
You're Filipino. Were you born in the Philippines or were you born here?
No, I was born in Canada.
You're born in Canada, so you're like second generation.
Yeah. But
Okay.
my parents came here when they were like my mom came here in elementary. She
Okay, so she was
yeah, they
quite
both
young
went
as
to
well.
high school here.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. The one thing that I was also really interested in terms of this conversation, because again, it's Asian Heritage Month, is, as there's such a wide range of experiences of what it means to be Asian, to exist in the world, to exist in North America, to be diasporic Asians, right? There's definitely, like I was having with the conversation with Esther, this essence of the pressure from the family, in these very traditional ways. And then there's also ways that us as the new generation express our identity in ways that include alternative forms of expression in other cultures.
Definitely.
Things like hip hop, and being extremely influenced and benefiting from larger pop culture, and also from Black culture as well, right? So I'm wondering what your experience has been being an Asian person, existing within and taking up space in Black culture in the way that you have.
So I guess one thing for me, I grew up around a lot of like Black and Hispanic people. Those are the people that I grew up around. So for me, it was never a matter of I'm Asian, he's Black, I'm Asian, he's Hispanic. It was almost like this is my family and we're just here together alongside with each other. And I understand now, like I see that we're not all the same colors, and I don't know how it feels to be a black person today in society, or what they have to experience, or anything like that. But for me, it was never there was never a segregation between me and my brothers. It was always a family. So that's how, kind of how I saw things. Yeah.
And also, I think so I was having this conversation with a few friends, and actually we had a larger conversation, an event in February called Asian Allies in Conversation, addressing anti-black racism in the Asian community. And I always get drawn back to this character, Uncle Chan, that we created. And Uncle Chan, and tell me if you have somebody like this maybe in your family, or if this is an experience that you're familiar with, is, you know, you go to, say, like Thanksgiving or Christmas or a family gathering, and there's Uncle Chan. And Uncle Chan is this guy who worked really hard, you know, came from Asia somewhere, and came over with nothing. Came over with the clothes on his back and hustled really, really hard and earned everything that he has. And in that whole story has also been brainwashed by a lot of our negative media that stereotype and stigmatize black people. And so when Uncle Chan comes around, he just spews anti-black racism everywhere that he goes. And when he sees you, he's like, why are you so involved in this black culture and with all these negative connotations attached to it? Have you ever experienced that as within your family, or as an Asian person, or kind of have witnessed this dynamic?
Definitely, I have experienced it, like, but at the same time, my family is very, like, multicultural. So I have a lot of like half black cousins, half white cousins, half Hispanic cousins, and things like that. And also, my family tends to be a little darker.
Right.
So, like, back in the Philippines, like, they would call us Negroes, like Negritos, yeah.
Yeah.
So we were looked at as if we were black people.
Right.
And it's not something that in my family, at least, that has been like what are you doing or anything, because we're very open, and I'm very open with who we communicate with and things like that. So I think definitely growing up in a family that's somewhat very open, at least to who we communicate with and things like that, I think I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, because the conversation around of Uncle Chan was like, how do you have a conversation with this person who's just set in their ways and is very oppressive and is very racist, and how can we do the work in our own communities to make sure that we are standing in true allyship with the black community, because we, again, benefit a lot from black culture, and it has become a part of also how we move through the world, especially for the younger generation that really resonate with aspects of it, like hip hop, right? And so that's the other question that comes to mind for me, is like, what is that dynamic, and how can we be allies to the black community as Asian folks or non-black folks that are simultaneously also part of hip hop in these ways? I don't know. What do you think?
I think we just have to just get into it. Like, I think it's less about thinking and it's more about just doing. Like, if we see a person get kicked in the head on the ground, we're not gonna say, how should we help that person? I think we just straight and say, are you okay?
Right.
Are you okay? What can I do to help? We know there's not too much thought. I feel like we shouldn't overanalyze, and we should just say, you know what, we're all in this together, and I'm here to help, and we're here to help. And especially, like, that's how I grew up. And even with not even me trying to fit into a certain community, but people who were different colors from me said, how can we help you? When I was in a time of need where I needed help. And it was not always people of my color, but they said, will help you because that's who we are as people.
Yeah.
And I think we need to start like less analyzing and more just caring for each other.
Caring for each other, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And sharing spaces of meaning and sharing spaces of community.
Definitely.
And also acknowledging spaces when we do take up privilege.
Definitely.
And yeah, all of the spaces in between, right?
Yeah, because I think at the end of the day, like, hip-hop was created off expression. It was the voice of, it was voicing out our opinions and how we felt from the minorities or whoever. And I feel hip-hop will always be an expression. And as long as you are genuine to yourself, like, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Muslim, Jewish, like, if you are being true to yourself and saying how you feel, then that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me also, hip hop saved my life in a huge way. I have a very similar narrative as you. It's hilarious. The more I get to know you, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're like a younger version of me in a male body. It's hilarious. But because I started with poetry, and then I discovered hip hop, and actually I grew up in a different environment. I grew up in a primarily white environment. When I discovered hip hop, it was this alternative voice that I felt like finally somebody gets me. You know, finally somebody, or there's this new platform or this new way of existing in the world that helps me to honor who I am, helps me to bring my stories to the forefront, helps me to, you know, find resilience in my voice where all I felt before was just the oppression of the people that were around me, of pushing me down and telling me that I'm not worth anything because of the color of my skin and because of how I am naturally. I was always told that I'm not good enough. And so when I discovered hip hop, it truly, you know, I say all the time, spoken word poetry and hip hop saved my life.
Definitely.
Because it gave me these platforms that I didn't have before. It gave me this perspective that I didn't have before. And so, and I think as non-Black folks, there's huge trends of cultural appropriation that run rampant all over. You know, people feel like they can, you know, be from their positions of privilege, just take from other people's culture or take aspects of other people's culture and not honor the entirety of it, and appropriate it for their own uses and their own, you know, their own purposes. In a negative context or in an exploitative context. And so I always think back to that question of what is that line, you know, between cultural appropriation and really honoring a culture or being a part of it in a genuine way, you know. And so, yeah, that's something that I think about as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I wonder, what is that line? And I don't know if I fully know the answer either. Is just, you know, again, it's just a conversation, right? Of how do we make sure that we are not appropriating a culture?
I think with each individual is different. I think, like, if you are not, like, in that community or if you haven't grown up with those values of this certain culture or this culture, then I mean it all stems from knowing yourself first of all. And I think, like, how I see it is, like, if I grew up around a lot of Black and Hispanic people, I'm gonna have more Black and Hispanic values, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm taking away from anything. That's just how I grew up. But I think if a person didn't grow up in that and they're just taking things just because it makes them feel, you know, a part of something that they're not, I think that's where
cool factor.
That's where we cross the line. And I think that's where it all stems back to who are you and where do you come from?
Is that genuinely part of your voice?
Yeah, is it really you?
Is that genuinely part of your energy and your path?
And I think it starts with knowing yourself. Yeah, like,
you know, that's a really great way of looking at it. I never thought of it that way before, and I love it when these moments happen, when, you know, thought evolves, right? And this is why we're here, is to have these conversations to hopefully evolve ourselves to the next stage of evolution of humanity, right? Definitely. What is that gauge it always comes back to who are you?
Yeah.
Always comes back to who is your true self? What is your true purpose? And when you don't know who you are, you run the risk of kind of going in these directions that are perhaps misguided. So how do we get to know who we are? How do we know? How do you identify, oh, this is the true me versus this is not the true me? How do you identify that?
I think it takes a lot of, it doesn't happen in a day.
Right.
Definitely doesn't happen in a day.
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
I think it takes a lot of time to yourself, and I think what people tend to do is they tend to steer away from their thoughts, like, oh, this is too much to think about, I'm gonna go party, or I'm gonna go drink, and I'm gonna just numb down the feelings or their thoughts, and they don't want to think about all these things. I think it takes a lot of time to yourself, talking to yourself and saying, you know, who am I, learning about your past as well, your culture, learning about the different people that sacrificed whatever they had to sacrifice for you to be who you are, learning about where you come from, like just really taking the time to study yourself, where you come from, and things like that. And I think the more knowledge you have of yourself is where, like, the more you learn about all these things is where you start to realize, yeah, I am this person, and this is who I am. And it all makes sense. It's like studying, it's like doing a test, like a math test.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't study, you're not gonna know anything. You can try and guess what's on the test, but
Yeah.
like, if you don't look back at the textbook,
Yeah.
you're not really gonna understand how to answer these questions,
To
right?
study yourself.
Yeah.
To engage in the study of knowing who you are.
Definitely.
To engage in the study of getting to know what that essence is that is you.
Yeah. Definitely.
That takes work, no?
It takes a lot of work.
It takes
You don't
work.
read those textbooks in
But
a
once
day.
you get in there, it's fun, right?
Yeah,
like
it is.
once
It
you get in
definitely
the
is.
flow of like, yeah, and now you're listening, and now you're able to trust yourself and trust your
And you're
intuition.
confident. Yeah, it's
and
like, yeah, you're confident in
and
yourself.
then
This is
things,
who I am.
magical
Yeah.
things happen,
Yeah.
right? Trust me, magical things happen. So, thank you so much, Michael. That was an amazing conversation. Is there anything else that you would want to let our viewers know, our listeners know about that you have going on?
Oh,
Or where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at Michael Q Morales, SoundCloud.com/Michael Q Morales, Facebook Michael Q Morales. Final thoughts, I would say, be who you are. Don't be afraid to be who you are. Know where you come from. Just be confident in yourself.
Awesome.
There we go.
Yay! Thank you so much. Give it up for Michael. He has an album called Sincerely, spelt with I-L-L. How do you spell that? S-I-N?
SINCERILLY.
Right. And he also goes by Illmind.
I
used to go by
yeah.
Illmind. And if you can, check out his music, support local artists, especially local youth artists. Check out for him. He's a rising star in this city. I'm so proud to be sitting here with him and having this conversation. Thank you, Michael. This is Voice of Purpose, Evolving Generations in Conversations. I am the real Sun, and we are on the path of true inner purpose. We'll be coming right back with our final thoughts. Thanks. Give it up for our house band, aka Stevie G on guitar. He's been holding it down, so all the guitar music that you're hearing in the background in between transitions, that's actually happening live right here on thatchannel.com. Stevie G. Welcome back. This is Voice of Purpose, Evolving Generations in Conversations on the path to true inner purpose. Thank you for joining us for another amazing show. Our second episode is under the belt. Woo! And today we had some really awesome conversations about that turning point, about that spark, about that knowing that comes from within, that voice that tells you who you are, what you're destined to be. That path that you are on will always give you clues. And your inner voice, your inner purpose is always alive within you. all the time. We just have to take the time to tune in and listen and honor ourselves and love ourselves enough to take that dive, to listen to that voice, and to pursue the things that make us happy, that bring us joy, that help us to laugh, that help us to stay in spaces of positivity and of happiness, because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what we're all here for, right? My name is The Real Sun, and this is the Voice of Purpose, evolving generations in conversations on the path to true inner purpose. In honor of Asian Heritage Month, I'd like to wish you an amazing, amazing rest of your May, and stay tuned. We'll be back next week, or 2 weeks from now. Yeah. We're here every first and third Friday of the month on thatchannel.com. Tune in. Thanks. Take care.